As companies grow over time, there are always moments to look back on that can be viewed as pivotal or defining. Specific jobs that escalate the business to the next level. For Priestly Demolition, one of these game-changing jobs came along in 2004. Air Canada Flight 886 to Tel Aviv took off, marking the very last flight out of Terminal 1 after being scheduled for demolition. Originally built in 1964, by the early 2000s, Terminal 1 had outlived its usefulness. Its circular design, with a parking lot on top, was once a marvel of engineering, but left no room for expansion. It had to come down. This was a massive job on the world stage, and one that laid the groundwork for what Priestly Demolition has become today.
I think the Terminal 1 job was the job that was a turning point for us to be able to bid larger projects without being afraid of actually doing them. When I found out that we won the bid, the next morning I came into the office and I said to my father at the time, geez, I could hardly sleep a wink last night. I was so excited. He said, well, son, I couldn't sleep a wink either.
Terminal 1 was my introduction to a foreman role. I was moving from an operator to a foreman, leading teams and collaborating with other crews on the job site. But it was probably the most influential job I've done to date.
This project had a strict time frame, so PDI worked in rotating phases to get it done. They started on the outer ring of the terminal, which required full-scale abatement.
The plan for that project had a lot with the abatement to get that done so we could do the demolition. So we had basically sectioned off the areas so we could do an abatement and then follow with the demolition.
This is what the inside of an asbestos enclosure looks like. You'll see poly on the floor, poly on the walls. After the asbestos, which is above us, comes down, all the walls and ceilings and floors are closed up on each other, and it's all taken away as asbestos waste, and the area is left clean.
This is what we call the truck ring. It's basically an asphalt roadway where they came in off the apron where they unload the bags from planes. Prior to the asbestos removal, we're going through, we're taking out all the conduit, all the piping, all the ductwork, all the conveyors that we can to facilitate better access to the asbestos removal.
This area has just been prepped. The guys are going up to set up towers or stations. The area is wet down with the amended water solution and then simply scraped, all hand scraped. The asbestos is bagged, labels put on them, and then transported to a site that accepts asbestos waste.
The outer ring was tackled in 4 quadrants, and as each one was cleared of asbestos, demolition of the ring could begin. This began with interior stripping.
What we have here is the Priestly Demolition custom roadway. We excavated the roadway to give clearance for our rock trucks to back down and receive a load from inside to the old basement level of Terminal 1.
As the ring was emptied out, the debris was hauled off to the side and sorted. With the environment in mind, PDI aimed to recycle a whopping 95% of scrap materials on site. Meanwhile, up top, another crew was hard at work, removing the control tower and working their way downward. In addition to the tower, they needed to remove the top 3 floors of the parking garage, putting it within reach of their machines.
Part of the contract, when we crush the concrete here, we can't have the asphalt mixed with the concrete, so we need to actually remove the asphalt prior to demolishing the building. The upper levels, we will remove the asphalt with skid steers and buckets and scrapers relatively efficiently. Now it's so well bonded because it's been resurfaced over the years that we can't remove it by conventional means with the bobcats. So we've hired this infrared heater. He basically runs over this asphalt, heats it, and then we scrape it with the bobcat. They'll then put the bucket attachment on and clean up this loose asphalt. It works really good, but it's a slow process.
After asphalt separation on each floor, columns were torched and removed.
We've demolished 3 floors now, the roof, level 8 and level 7, but we've got immense columns here and steel encased in concrete have to be cut and burned at every level.
Those parking garage columns were no joke. They were like 2-3 inch steel. Like, that was major demolition. We definitely learned to work as a team there and get an insurmountable amount of work done in a short period of time.
As the crew up top finished clearing the roof, the ground crew continued to chew away at the outer ring until there was sufficient space to get at the main building.
We're now tearing down the building from the ground. We're using excavators and conventional methods, hydraulic shears, and a high-reach machine to reach up and take the building down. What we do is we isolate the columns, and then we torch cut the columns at the bottom and about 30 feet up, and then we pull the column out, and this section of building will fall down.
While the first drop was successful, PDI soon realized that they needed a little extra muscle to tear through this heavily reinforced structure.
Once we got into the parking garage demolition from the ground, we were using our high reach. And our high reach at that time, up against the side of that parking garage, looked like an ant.
Terminal 1 taught us, even though we may start the job on day one with a certain select piece of equipment and crew, we may need to change, pivot, and move on to bigger and more aggressive equipment.
So at that time, trying to source a new high reach was very difficult. There wasn't a lot on the market. And then we found one down in New York. We got that machine up to Toronto and we took down the rest of the parking garage with it. And that machine still is our highest reaching high reach in our fleet.
Recognizing very quickly that more horsepower was needed, that was a huge part of the success of Terminal 1.
With two machines working, they tore through the concrete and rebar and dropped section after section at a breakneck speed. But there was no time to waste. There were still massive sections of the building that needed to come down. The crew worked towards having one large yet manageable section and an ambitious plan to bring it all down.
We got 4 bays of 4 columns each. The back bays are cut horizontally with a single cut. The 2 front ones are cut in a wedge so that when we hook onto them with cables, the front ones will pull out. The structure should drop, rotate, and knock the second row of columns to the ground, and then we anticipate the structure is going to topple into the hole.
Okay, boys. Here's what the theory is. I think we'll do it like we were going to do it the other night. We'll let Marty go first, and then Joe, we'll try yours in the middle. I got that ramp there, Joe, so you can be on a bit of an angle when you pull yours. And then when we go to pull the 2 outside ones, same thing. Let's try and pull this corner first. As soon as you see Marty to have that, Joe, Give her the gas. Sound like a plan?
The operators hooked up their machines, and onlookers gathered from a safe distance to witness this historic moment.
At the end, we started failing the structure, sort of one column at a time, and then we picked up the pace. We got to 2 columns and then 3 columns, but the last section, there was only 16 legs left, and we failed 4 of them at the same time, and nothing really happened, so we had to sort of go back to the drawing board.
PDI quickly shifted to Plan B, and Ryan jumped in the high reach to give it a little nudge. Ryan's dad Vic got on the walkie for support and to help coax this building down.
Keep your momentum up, you're doing fine. Hubs are starting to give, you're good. We see more cracking all the time. You're getting it, you're getting it. Keep going, don't stop, Ryan. Hook under again, push again. No, there we go. Oh, Baker, go home.
Hey, get out! Hey, that was good, hey, buddy! Did you see that, dude? Boom! So there we go. End of the day, no more building.
And just like that, the biggest part of this job came to a close.
I'll never forget the moment the final piece of building came down. There was an extreme sense of satisfaction and accomplishment. That was a big, strong building, and to be honest, I think that building had us intimidated the whole way along, and it was nice to see that we'd won at the end.
What we learned from the Terminal 1 project was really to come together as a team for sure, to get a lot of work done in a short amount of time. But also it was the intimidation factor of that project when we were first awarded it, and once we were done that project, that intimidation factor sort of went away for other big projects. Every now and again, thinking back to that job, it just brings back good memories of working as a team and getting the job done. It's always a great feeling.
PDI spent the following weeks cleaning up and sorting scrap, clearing the way for the future of international travel in Toronto, and what had already taken shape even back in 2004, Priestly Demolition's devotion to innovation, technology, and experience.